You are on, Dr. G.
Welcome, everyone, to the Santa Fe Public Schools' third town hall, Remote Learning for Middle and High School. Para servicios de traducción en español, por favor, marque al 701-802-5152. El número de acceso, 4277-932. El doctor James Lujan estará disponible para traducir para ustedes esta noche. Bienvenidos. Good evening. I'm so excited that you're here today to hear about our reimagined, rebooted, reinvented remote learning program. We've been working so hard to prepare for your students as they enter middle school and high school. And tonight you're going to be hearing from district leaders to give you an idea of what to expect this year, what will be different. At 7:15, we will then open up the live chat, and you will have an opportunity to ask us questions, and we will answer as many of them as we can. These questions will also be available to you in the frequently asked questions section of our website. Very quickly, if you are the parent of a sixth grader incoming to a middle school, or a seventh grader incoming to a middle school, or a ninth grader, and you have not registered, please call 467-2000. 467-2000, and you will be guided as to what to do, or contact the school and they will also help you, okay? Also, if you did not submit an enrollment form letting us know that you prefer remote learning or the hybrid model, regardless of what grade you're in, if you did not submit that form, we ask you to email or call your child's school that they will be entering in 2021 and list your child's name, their date of birth, their student ID number or lunch ID number, okay? And that you prefer remote for the entire school year, or when it's allowable to go into hybrid, and a contact information so that the school can get back to you. We really appreciate that. We really need that for planning. So here we go. The district leaders will introduce themselves when they answer questions tonight. And so we're going to start with, will the full remote model of instruction be different from last school year? And it better be, since it's rebooted, right?
Well, yes. Dr. Garcia and everyone, my name is Linda Sink. I'm the Deputy Superintendent for the Santa Fe Public Schools. And yes, again, it will be significantly different. If you recall, last spring, we found ourselves all of a sudden in an online model of teaching and learning. Yes, teachers had had some background in some digital tools, working with computers, some lessons being done on the computer, etc. But no one in our district of 900 teachers and the rest of us had been in an online school for the whole 24/7, 180 days. We weren't an online district. So we found ourselves having to help the teachers and support the teachers as best we could. But it wasn't an easy feat for any of us, and especially our teachers. I know they did the best they could. We tried to support. But then when school was over, we needed to do something different. We needed to reimagine and redesign our lessons. We also knew that it's expected that all students will gain a minimum of 1 year's growth. Having said that, we decided to get to work to design lessons pre-K actually through 12th grade. We got together departments from all over our district, departments from technology, from curriculum and instruction, from special ed, etc. And we found, believe it or not, almost 75 teachers that volunteered to help us and build teams to build these digital lessons. We spent the whole summer doing that in our teams, building lessons that we wanted to be digital. We wanted them to be rigorous. We needed them to be engaging, and we needed them to be based on all our standards. So our work was cut out for us. In the end, and now the summer is about over because we start on Monday with having our teachers come in for professional development to start learning about these lessons. Believe it or not, we built 4 weeks of lessons in 4 different content areas, including music and art. And that means that there are 4 lessons per week in all of these content areas, pre-K through 12th grade. So you can imagine there's a lot of professional development to do, and we'll be doing it. We also have, and we're very fortunate for Santa Fe Public Schools, we have online instructional materials. What that means is that we don't have the hard textbooks anymore. We haven't had for quite a while now. We just purchased most of our new math adopted materials. We're very excited about that. Your student is able to access those instructional materials as they go through the lessons with their teachers. They'll be able to access when they begin school. And don't forget, we begin school on August 20th. You're muted, Dr. Garcia.
I'm usually the one telling you guys you're muted, but you may have mentioned it, but we did hear from our parents, right? And one platform for grades 3 through 12, which will be open access, which will make life a lot simpler for everybody. So we really listened to our parents. We had a survey that was done, and we took that feedback to heart. And I really am proud of you and your team and the hard work that was done. What does a day in the life look like for a remote student?
Yes, the students will follow a daily schedule of classes for meeting times and the delivery instruction. And one thing that I meant to say, and I want to say it now, is I really believe that your students are really going to enjoy these new lessons that we've built. Digital lessons, I think the kids will take on to it very, very quickly. And with them being so engaging, I think it'll be very fun for them. We'll also have check-ins daily at the beginning of the class or the beginning of the day. And we'll also have SEL time, which is social emotional learning. There's curriculum for us to see how kids are doing and work with our kids in that way. You're going to hear a lot more from that from our wellness department a little later in the evening. We're going to have a lot more focus on direct instruction, which we call synchronous instruction. We will have synchronous small group and one-on-one. Again, the face-to-face or synchronous will be very engaging every day, and the schedules are very structured for teachers and students. And the one last thing that I want to say in this regard is that we think that your child will benefit from remote learning. So even though it's different, we believe that it is the perfect 21st century skills to be learned. Digital skills will be needed in your college, in colleges, and in all careers that they are involved in. Thank you.
So they're going to benefit from this experience as they prepare not only for college, community college, university life, but also for the world of work, because it's good. You know, a lot of us are working remotely, and I think that the workforce landscape is going to change dramatically as well as we come out of the pandemic. So they're going to pick up some very valuable skills. What does support look like for an incoming 6th or 7th grader?
So thank you, Dr. Garcia. I'll take that question. Good evening, everyone. My name is Debbie Rael, and I'm the Associate Superintendent for Instruction and School Support. And as we know, those transitional years from an elementary setting into a middle school and high school are really important for students to be able to feel like they belong in their new environments. And so I know for certain that principals and counselors and teachers have been working very hard to make it very convenient and easy for our incoming 6th and 7th graders to feel supported. Some of the things that I know middle schools are gearing up to do here in the next couple of weeks is they're setting up back to school nights for families to participate in. They're setting up opportunities for personal introductions and meetings with the principal, the counselor, their advisory teachers, just so we can ensure that students and their parents understand not only how the school operates and the school schedules, but and in a remote setting, the open access platform, but really trying to foster this sense of belonging. In the last couple of weeks, our middle school, Ortiz Middle School, has had and hosted a jump start for their 6th grade students that was well attended. We also know that there's been lots of activity around supporting kids around orienting them to the curriculum. And there's some Avid strategies that are used, and these Avid strategies are something that we lean on to organize students in the classroom and as they
What is, Ms. Rael, what is Avid?
Avid is it's a program that is a national program, and it is one that is utilized in many of our schools in the Santa Fe Public Schools. But the crux to Avid is to provide students ways to organize themselves, for setting up digital binders, for example, setting up themselves well to take good notes during a remote setting, those types of things that we know are
Also,
supported.
it's preparing students to be college bound, right?
Yes.
Avid really gives kids the skills necessary, the study skills, is my understanding, to be ready for post-secondary education. Ramping up that rigor and giving them the skills, like you said, note-taking, how to organize themselves, how to get their homework done, how to write a good term paper, those sorts of things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And our middle schools are engaging with Avid, and it makes complete sense because as they move into a high school setting, eventually they will also find that their high schools utilize these strategies. And Dr. Garcia, I think I would just want to also just add that teachers and counselors at the middle schools are really also thinking about building opportunities with their students around, get to know you activities, really trying to create that personal connection for kids, even in a remote setting. There's some very active work that I believe you'll hear about later around supporting our students socially and emotionally at the school level. So very excited about what our incoming 6th graders and 7th graders are coming into, both at Milagro and Ortiz and other schools across our district.
Those middle grades, whether you're in a community school, Milagro, or at Ortiz, are kind of goofy years. It's tough for kids. I mean, all of us, just think back about junior high or middle school, and you just want to cringe. It's a very difficult time, and we recognize that. And we also know it's hard going in to a brand new school as a 6th grader or 7th grader. And Ms. O'Brien will be talking about a lot of those supports. So thank you for bringing that up. What's it going to look like for incoming 9th graders?
Hi, and good evening. I'm Larry Chavez, Associate Superintendent for School Support, and more specifically for our high schools. In addition to what Associate Superintendent Rael and Deputy Superintendent Sink mentioned earlier, we're also developing videos for students and parents to watch, learn how to log into PowerSchool, learn how to navigate open access. We want to make sure we're asking our students to check their emails. They're going to start receiving, if they haven't already, daily updates about schedules, about their classes that they may have picked, ways to be able to drop and add different classes. We also want to make sure that if you are unable to access the schedule, please reach out to your school. You can reach out to your school right now. They're actually in session and they're working on schedules as we speak. What I want to do is really touch base on what our secondary schedules are going to look like. So first, I want to thank the district staff, our principals, teachers that helped collaborate in developing our secondary schedule. At the end of last school year, the common theme in our survey from parents and students is that they did want more structure in the schedule, and they were asking for greater engagement to more direct instruction. So in this remote schedule, what we're trying to do is replicate what we used to know as a normal school day. And we want to make sure that our students understand that they will have to follow the 7-class schedule each day. Now, the first week is extremely important because we want to make sure that they're able to log in, they're able to access their classes, they're able to make that connection with their teachers and other students. Also, it's very important that our students and teachers start to develop that relationship and they are able to build a comfortable remote learning environment between the two. It's unlike last year where they started full face-to-face. They had that opportunity to build relationships, get to know one another, and then move into that remote environment. Now it's the opposite. So we're going to have to really take our time in developing and fostering those relationships and making sure that we're able to connect and engage with one another.
Mr. Chavez, I wanted to ask you though, because you mentioned it very quickly and I was muted, is whether or not, you said it's going to mirror the regular school day. Are they going to be in front of the computer for 6.5 hours a day?
No, absolutely not. And neither will our teachers. I just want to make sure that we get that clear out there. So what we're asking is when you log into your class, each one of your classes, that direct instruction is going to be given immediately. It's going to be, it could be 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes, it could be 15 minutes. And then at that point is where the teacher is going to be a little creative in understanding who's in front of them. They could meet with small groups, they could meet with individuals for additional support, but they also could be given that assignment to the rest of the class to work offline, which is asynchronously. They wouldn't be working directly on the computer face-to-face or live with their teachers. So both our students and our teachers are going to be able to interact and engage immediately, but also have that opportunity to disconnect and work offline, if you want to call it that.
Sure. And what about athletics and activities?
Yeah, that's going to be something very new and different than what we're used to. Just for example, we're used to the fall season having football right off the bat. Football's actually moved into the second half of the semester, so it won't start until February. So Santa Fe Public Schools is a member of the New Mexico Activities Association, and being a member of that association, we do have to follow their guidance, their recommendations, and their protocols. With that being said, we have to be able to provide a safe environment for not only our athletes, but also our staff who happen to be coaches and also our spectators. What we're doing this fall is according to the NMAA, is offering golf, cross country, and volleyball at this point. Now, things could change. Those seasons could get pushed back into the second semester as well. But as of now, those are the three that are going to continue now in the fall. What we also do, we're also trying to encourage our teams' activities, clubs, sponsors to continue to engage with their students, even though it's remotely. We want to make sure that we have that connection with them. So when we do return to school, we're able to connect right away and continue to build and foster those activities and clubs.
And to reiterate, this is not a local decision. This is a statewide decision with NMAA. What about schools that have clubs, club ball at their schools after school? They're not real, they're in our buildings, but they're not our, they may even have our school district team names, but they're not really ours, but they have been in our buildings in the past. Will that be available this year?
That will not be available during the remote setting. Whenever we transition over to the hybrid or full face-to-face, then that opportunity will open back up. But right now, according to the Department of Health, New Mexico Public Education Department, the NMAA, and the National Federation for High Schools, we are not allowing, or they are not allowing that to take place on school campuses at this point.
But it will look real different.
It
and
will.
We'll have
protocols.
When we eventually move to hybrid, there'll be another town hall and we'll tell you all about what that will look like. But right now, this session is focused on the remote model.
Yeah, and if Dr. Garcia, if I can add just one thing on the schedules, I failed to mention earlier. When we developed these schedules, we wanted to develop a schedule that not only fit the remote setting, but also fit the hybrid and full face-to-face. So whenever we're transitioning between the different instructional models, we wanted to be able to do that seamlessly. And we wanted to be able to do that either to one or back to another. So I just wanted to make that a point of emphasis so they understand why we created these schedules.
Perfect. Thank you. What opportunities are available for students that are related to after-school activities?
So, Dr. Garcia, I'll take that question. In our district, we are very fortunate to have some very rich after-school activities and programs. We offer the 21st century after-school programs along with the extended learning time program at our schools. And really what these programs are focused on they're multifaceted. We do obviously support our students with tutoring, in math and reading. Additionally, we also know that there's some unique clubs that kids participate in that really benefit in their learning, like computer coding and robotics, chess clubs, computer clubs. We really emphasize this work in terms of working with each other as a club. And so we also know that some of our students have created some really amazing projects as they work together in these after-school programs. We have a Twilight School that was enlisted last year that really supported some of our students in earning their credits if needed. Physical fitness clubs, intervention for math support. So we're very rich in after-school activities, and even in a remote setting, Dr. Garcia, we do intend to continue this virtually for a little while, and then once we come back into either hybrid or face-to-face, we'll reevaluate how to reincorporate our after-school programs.
Terrific. How have community partnerships been leveraged in supporting after-school activities?
We have had a wonderful commitment from our Santa Fe community partners. We've had some really great experiences for our students as related to the museums in town, Meow Wolf, the opera. All of our partners have been especially giving of their time to work with our teachers and creating lessons, to act as guest speakers. And we really want to continue those relationships. In our most recent extended learning time program, we had a wealth of partners come forward and say, yes, count us in. We want to be supportive. This does give students this amazing and interesting way to engage with their local community and to learn something about what is offered in the Santa Fe area. And so we've been very pleased with all of the hands-on projects that have come from those partnerships, as well as, you know, students just discovering their own backyard, if you will.
And, you know, while it's remote learning, the connections are strong, and our relationships with communities in schools, Earth Care, Santa Fe Interfaith. I mean, the list is a mile long, Boys and Girls Club, Girls Inc., etc. So much support, relational support because of our community partners. And we're upping our game in terms of bringing volunteers in to help tutor students, to help them support them in remote learning. So a huge focus on social emotional learning. You know, young people, like all of us, we're very social, but it's been really hard on students emotionally to be in a remote learning setting. And so we're very aware of that. And please know that we are very focused on improving that. Will graduation requirements to include state assessments be required by this year's senior class?
Yes, Dr. Garcia, I think this is a two-part question. So I think both myself and Debbie will tag team this, and I'll go ahead and go first. So all graduation requirements are going to be a requirement of all students this year for the class of 2021. Again, all includes credits, requirements, state assessments. And again, we also have in our policy the opportunity for alternate demonstration of competency for students. Again, parents and students out there who are listening, your school counselors and principals are very well versed in the requirements and all the different options and paths available for graduation.
You know, and then we'll be having formative assessments, right, to measure students' progress. That will continue again, more so than last year, so that we can gauge students' progress regardless of what the state may be doing around formal assessment the last year. One last question you know, last year, there was a real push to make sure that we track those seniors and that none of them fell through the cracks and that they graduated. Will that be our approach again this year?
Absolutely. I think that that's key in order to continue to drive our graduation rates up. We want to graduate as many students as possible. So being able to track these and help monitor what classes they may be missing, assessments that they may be missing. We have a great tool within Santa Fe Public Schools that helps us do this. And so by utilizing and leveraging all of the resources we have, we're able to really pinpoint what's needed for graduation by all of our seniors.
And our strategy has been to up the rigor, and we believe that that would improve our graduation rate, and it is showing that students step up to the plate when when more is expected of them. I think they feel respected, that we know they are smart and capable. Our family is going to be trained in using the open access platform.
Yes, and I think we briefly touched on it. There's going to be trainings. Our digital learning department is also creating videos and tools for parents to be able to learn how to navigate the platform, learn how to support their children at home. You know, I have a son of my own and a daughter, and I always have to trust them about whether or not they completed homework. And I have to go back in and take a look to see if they actually did and submit it, press the submit button. So again, it's just that learning process and learning curve for all parents out there to be able to learn and support their students.
And this is sort of related. Middle school and high school is a little bit different than the younger ones, but what's the role of a parent during remote learning?
Yeah, and I think the role of a parent is to be able to support and collaborate with your student. I think it's very important that that engagement is seen on both ends, not only from the student and the teacher, but also from the parent. We get a lot of questions at the district level about why did my question be answered by a certain teacher, a certain administrator, whatever it may have been. And we want to make sure that we're correcting all those little hiccups we had last year. A lot of the resources that we're going to have currently in this school year will be both in English and Spanish, but we want to make sure that with these older students that the parents are still involved and still engaged with what's going on.
But I understand, Ms. Sink, as we design lessons this year, that it will be a lot, all the training and the webinars that students will, especially the middle school and high school age group, should be able to work more independently than they did last year. And parents will have a schedule. They know what will be expected of their students, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. I've heard, you know, and I think people have commented on this, that too much screen time may be harmful. Is this true?
Hi, Dr. Garcia. My name's Tom Ryan. I'm the Chief Information and Strategy Officer. And there's lots of confusing research. And a lot of it has to do with passive screen time, where kids are exposed to hours and hours of just watching a monitor, watching a television, randomly surfing the internet and some gaming. And there's a difference between that and active screen time, active educational screen time, in which the child's receiving instruction. There's interactive, there's cognitive processes that are being challenged. And so we are focusing on the active screen time, which has proven to be beneficial. And it's the same type of things that kids will need as they prepare to go to college, because this is exactly the way kids will be working within their college environments.
Thank you. That's good to know. How do students receive a device if they don't have them?
All of the students that are currently enrolled in Santa Fe Public Schools have a Chromebook. We've asked that they turn those on and log in to make sure everything's working fine. If they are not working fine, they can call 467-HELP, and we will be working all of next week from 8:30 and from 9 o'clock to 4:30, 9 o'clock to 4:30 at the tech building, and we will swap those devices out if they're not working. If you're a new student to the district, they would do the same thing. They would, as long as they're enrolled within Power School, we will give them a new Chromebook and power supply in a bag.
Where is the tech building?
The tech building is off of Cerrillos and Camino Carlos Rey. And if you go to our website, you will get the instructions exactly how to get there.
Okay. And again, that number is 467-HELP.
Yes.
Okay, 467-HELP.
And Dr. Garcia,
Students-
one other note, if they need an internet, they don't have internet at home, same process, contact us at 467-HELP. Come down next week to pick up a mobile device, a cellular connection that you can take with, as well as a computer. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. What do students do if they do not have sufficient internet access?
Well, we've got several options that are available. One, this will work with whatever wireless internet access you have, Comcast or any other provider, or your cellular, a cellular connection. We've increased the bandwidth with stadium AP access points that broadcast out to the parking lots of many of our schools, libraries, and community centers. So you can drive up and be able to have high-speed internet. And we also then have hotspots. If you don't have internet access and you live in an area that's, say, mountainous and doesn't get good cellular connectivity, those Wi-Fi's won't help. We're going to help you apply for Comcast Essentials and kind of work with you to diagnose what's going to be the best fit for you. We want to ensure every child has access to the internet and their instructional materials.
And they'll be able to also go to grab-and-go sites or to other school sites, the Santa Fe Community College, public libraries, where they can upload and download information,
Exactly.
right? So they can download their lessons, take it home, and then upload the lessons. So I know schools will work with them too. But again, any issues, 467-HELP. So thank you, Dr. Ryan. When will schools have face-to-face instruction, we've been asked? And I think it really depends when it is safe to do so. The districts will keep families informed. Right now, we will be in full remote for the first 9 weeks. However, we are waiting approval of our plan from the Public Education Department. After that point, if our infection rates are below 1.05, that transmission rate, then we will start in a phase-in hybrid model. That is the plan as of today. Can you switch from remote to hybrid and vice versa? Yes, you can, but we highly discourage it. We'd like you to pick one. It will be much better for your student. It will be much more stable. It will be difficult, going back and forth. I think it's better to have their teachers because keeping the same teachers. Now, we can easily move back and forth, but it would be more difficult for your students. So we ask you to pick that, but obviously if you choose to, we can accommodate you. And you will be notified in advance when we are moving from remote to hybrid. Questions always come up about attendance and grades. Ms. Singh.
Yes, Santa Fe Public Schools will continue to follow our traditional letter grading system. This is really important because grades are required to earn credits and you must have credits to graduate. As far as attendance goes, we'll absolutely be taking attendance in every class in every day. So attendance is also important. I think it helps us to keep track of kids and students to understand the importance of being there for the instruction.
It's not on the list, but Mr. Chavez, we have a new school, Desert Sage Academy. Can you share quickly what that's about?
Absolutely. So Desert Sage Academy is an opportunity for students to be able to attend a small school setting. And in this small school setting, no matter if we go back to face-to-face or if we're in a hybrid model, we'll always have an online option. We're also offering a new computer science curriculum or pathway there. We're also expanding the coursework or course offerings for our students. So we're continuing to rebrand, re-image, and also expand our course offerings to be able to attract other students.
And what grades can attend Sage Academy?
Right now, we've actually opened it up. So it is 6th grade through 12th grade. Originally, it was 9 through 12, and we've added 3 middle school grades.
So if you haven't been a part of the Santa Fe Public Schools, this might be a great option for you. Or even if you are within the district, this is one more option. We also have 5 high schools. We have the 2 comprehensive high schools. We have the ECO, which is our early college opportunity school, the Mandela International Baccalaureate program, and then of course, Desert Sage Academy. So 5 wonderful choices for you in high schools. will children still receive or students still receive language support, such as for English language learners or bilingual education in a hybrid or remote model?
Absolutely. The Language and Cultural Department has been working very hard to design digital online lessons as well. They're focused on language acquisition, and they include instructional materials that are culturally relevant. We will also continue with our ELL or English Language Development classes. These will be 6th grade through 12th grade for at least 30 minutes per day.
Thank you. We have quite a few questions on special education. And we're going to start with when all students are learning in the remote model, do schools still have to provide special education services?
Good evening. I'm Julie Lucero, the Executive Director of Special Education. And back to your question, Dr. Garcia, yes, absolutely. Students will still receive services no matter what model of learning they're in. We will continue to follow each student's IEP and meet the needs that are determined in that plan.
And that means for related services, ancillary services, whatever is in the IEP, the district has an obligation to provide.
Absolutely. We are going to providing a speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, social work, whatever is included there. We're also reaching out to our families currently and setting up IEP meetings. If we determine that students may need a little bit more service, we may do that, or if they need a little less. So you should be expecting a phone call from your program support specialist or your contact teacher or case manager to kind of come up with our plan for the upcoming year, because we do want to meet the needs on each individual IEP.
Can IEP teams remotely by video conferencing or telephone?
Absolutely. Federal law has always allowed families and schools to have remote IEPs. We will be using Google Meets, or we potentially could use telephone calls if needed.
Excellent. What if a child's evaluation deadline is coming up?
So we have a couple of things that we're using. We currently purchased some online diagnostic tools that we're hoping that we're actually expecting to get started using next week. But we're also, for those students where remote evaluations are not working, we're using current data that we have and using progress monitoring to determine where they may be. We can make exceptional eligibility determinations based on this pandemic if we have the data to support that. And then hopefully once we're out of our remote setting, we can start some in-person evaluations that where we would meet with individual students one-on-one.
Perfect. By the way, if you're not speaking right now, panelists, please mute. Thank you. What about if a child's, let's see, a child's evaluation deadline is coming? I think, did you answer that?
Yes, and Dr. Garcia, if I could add, we are also going to continue our Child Find, and what Child Find is the evaluation and screening tools to identify our early or younger children, which are 3 and 4 years old. So we'll be doing those remotely as well, and we'll be setting up appointments with individual families to take care of that.
How will services be provided for children who receive multiple services? Many of the kids receive multiple services, and also, is it taken into consideration that their days might be longer or due to the extra time they're out of class?
So first, I'll answer the first one. So we were very successful in the springtime by co-treating. So for example, our occupational therapist and our speech therapist, they teamed remotely to work with either groups of students or with individual students, and that was super successful. So we want to continue using that method if that's appropriate for the student. Of course, we always want to go back to individual needs. Also, as far as the extra time for our self-contained classrooms, and what that is our students that are in a special education class all day, we'll try to follow the schedule that all general education is following. We'll be working with teachers to help recommend schedules of what that could look like. And of course, we always want to take each individual student's needs and adjust when needed. If for some students, 5 hours is too much screen time, of course, we would we would accommodate that in the IEP if they need more time or if they need one-on-one time. We definitely want to focus on meeting individual student needs now that we enter the new school year.
And in the interest of time, there's some questions around special education that we may just have to post on the FAQs so that we can get to Q&A a little bit later. But classes like life skills class, I know people are concerned about that, but we're fully ready to provide those services. And also all teachers, special education, general ed teachers will be getting professional development. There was a question earlier about access to libraries and ebooks and instructional materials. We have all of that will be provided. We have a wonderful partnership with the city of Santa Fe who will be making available library cards, electronic library cards, and they'll have access to all of that. Where students may require a hardback book, those also will be provided, or workbooks. How will the district communicate with families?
So Dr. Garcia, we are encouraging that communication is two-way and all the time. And so as Deputy Superintendent Sink had already mentioned, we have designed schedules and support so that families should be encouraged to be able to reach out to their teacher, to their principal, to counselors as needed. Within the schedules, we have some devoted time set aside for family and student contacts. So we're hoping that will support this idea of two-way communication.
And, you know, people are concerned about kids who may not have engaged, and this is really important, particularly in middle and high school. Again, if you're not speaking as panelists, can you please mute? Thank you. So we do want to make sure that kids, we do connect with them. We are part of a program called Engage, which is a New Mexico project to reach out to students, our Office of Community Engagement. We also have attendance coaches. These are not our truant officers of yesterday. They really want to help students connect, find out why they may not be engaging in school, and provide them the supports they need so that they can be successful. You'll hear a lot about social emotional learning. So and I want to know what that is and how Santa Fe Public Schools will address the social and emotional needs of students.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Hi, everybody. My name is Sue O'Brien. I'm the Director of Student Wellness here in Santa Fe Public Schools. And I think, Dr. Garcia, the first thing that I would want our families to know, and we've heard all evening, is that attending to the emotions of our students and the social emotional needs of our kiddos is a district priority. And we started in the spring, and we continue to work over the summer, just like many of our departments, to figure out what that would look like, you know, recognizing all the concerns parents have and our, you know, obviously compassion around making sure that we're connecting with kids. So our focus is going to be about building relationships, as you heard earlier today. And so we decided to use, we're going to use different approaches and strategies. Some of those, I'm going to give a very high overview of those strategies, because we also had developed a district framework that's much more comprehensive in detail. But some of those strategies that we're going to plan to do and we're going to do are those daily check-ins that you heard about earlier. And those are going to happen at the beginning of the school day. And it's not just about checking in with students about how they're feeling, but you know, if they're having difficulty engaging with classes, if they're having trouble in class, if they would like to speak to somebody, who would that be? And the daily check-ins are what we would call developmentally appropriate. So for the younger children in like the higher elementary level, they have faces and they can click on those faces. And at the high school, we actually use language. Are you frustrated? Are you fear? Because with those daily check-ins, and this is critical for us, this is how we believe we're going to be able to keep students engaged, not just engaged, but make sure they get the needs that they have met. So that's going to be very critical. We didn't do that in the spring, so that's something new. The other thing that we're going to do is, we talked about earlier about connecting with students, and we call those icebreakers. So during the school day, this happened last night too, almost the same time. the icebreakers, so activities that the teachers can do with the students to get to know them and have fun with them, really. The other thing that we're going to do is within every schedule, this is pre-K to 12, we have dedicated time so that the teachers can help actually the students do things like manage their emotions, to set goals. We work on empathy for themselves and others, maintaining positive relationships, and then making responsible decisions. All critical skills. These are the skills that we use in our district. This is not something really new, but it's like a recommitment. The other thing that we're going to do that we are going to be training our teachers on is there are known strategies that you can use when you're actually teaching. Something like when you do group work as a classroom teacher, that's actually a strategy to help students with their social emotional well-being. And particularly some of these strategies are really support students who have experienced trauma. So it's not a lot of rocket science, but even like classroom procedures, routines and procedures, they all help ground us. We need that. So making sure our teachers are doing that and helping them and training them on that. The other thing that I'm so proud of our district for is that all of our schools have school wellness teams. And it's through those school wellness teams, they meet weekly. I know that during the pandemic, other schools were meeting on a more regular basis. Obviously, depending on the size of their school, they may need to meet more frequently, but it's through those school wellness teams. So those daily check-ins can be the vehicle to get that information to the wellness teams. So those wellness teams can then act. So it could be something along the lines of developing like individual counseling or therapy for those students, all the way to maybe a more global issue that's going on in the schools. And then obviously addressing more urgent needs that they're surfacing if students are feeling in trouble. That's really important. And then the other really important, and I don't know.
I'm going to have to cut you short. However, because we're running out of time. And social emotional learning and resources, connecting with Gerard's House, Sky Center, all of these different organizations. Your team has done a great job. If you go to our website and look at social emotional learning, or look at, I think it's social emotional support. It's very prominent on our website where you can connect to get behavioral and mental health services and support. And as always, contact the schools. We will connect you with the support and help you need. We have two or three more questions, but Mr. Beta, if you want to go ahead and start getting the live chat ready, because it takes about a minute for it to get going. Student nutrition. Will Santa Fe Public Schools continue to provide food services during remote learning?
Good evening, Superintendent Garcia. I'm Christy Wagner, Deputy Superintendent, Operations and School Support. It remains a priority, as it has been throughout the pandemic, to provide student nutrition services, food services district-wide. We'll be shifting from a grab and go model where we've been serving meals via our school locations to a delivery model for the 9-week remote learning period. Parents should be listening for robocalls and instructions for applying for meal applications and using our website to determine the nearest pickup location for both grab and go breakfasts and lunches. The key thing to remember going into our remote learning regular school year period is that we move to a fee-for-service type program, whereas if you're a paid lunch student, you would pay for your meal. And you can do that on our school bucks, our lunch bucks website. It's available through our student nutrition link on sfps.info. So just be listening for really important information coming out to the community pertaining to—
How can they complete a student nutrition application?
That application is also available. You can get there through the student nutrition link on the SFPS website. That's probably the easiest way to get there, or contact your principal if you're having difficulty doing so.
And how will the state and district support school staff members or our community who have school-aged children regarding childcare?
We understand that childcare is a key issue in supporting the start of school, whether it's remote or a hybrid setting. There'll be many students, particularly under age 12, in need of care in part and full-time settings. And so we're partnering with some agencies around Santa Fe who have been, many of them providing care or are hoping to relaunch care. Those partners include Boys and Girls Club, the City of Santa Fe, many others. And we hope to be very shortly publishing on our website and more globally information for our staff and our families to use to contact various partners to see what's available for them in terms of childcare.
That's terrific. And I know today we had a meeting with the mayor's office and with you and our board president and other members of the staff with the city, trying to problem solve this issue, because it's a big issue for our community and not only for ours, throughout the state. And we're doing the best we can, but it's going to be a tough nut to crack for sure. We're ready for questions. I understand that they are being posted now on the YouTube chat, and then they make their way to us here on the Zoom chat. So while we're waiting for those questions and answers, I was a little confused. Can you clarify again, Ms. Wagner, about we're moving from grab and go to delivery? So they won't be going to the school sites anymore to pick up food during remote?
Dr. Garcia, we'll be utilizing our school buses to use a delivery model that will get meals closer to our homes. So what folks will do is you'll actually use your home school and your address to look online for the nearest bus route and delivery point for meals. So what we're hoping is that putting meals out on buses and delivering them to our neighborhoods will make them more accessible, rather than parents and families having to leave and go to the schools. We'll be bringing them closer to you. And it will be a route-based schedule. It's much like finding a school bus stop if you're going to or from school on the school bus. And so once you become familiar with your cross streets and your school bus location, it will become fairly routine and timely for you to go pick up meals, breakfast and lunch daily.
So I'm waiting, Ms. Romero, Mr. Weaver, for Dr. Weaver, for chat questions. I don't have any up to answer. Here we go. For our students with IEPs that require quite a bit of handholding through the day, do we have a plan to help these students be successful if parents are both working and can't always help? And please feel free, Ms. Romero and Mr. Weaver, to keep putting, Dr. Weaver, to keep putting the questions on here, because I can slide through them. Ms. Lucero.
So for our students who require more assistance, of course, we're planning on a full parent training module to kind of help those students at home. We have some new software that will assist families to become a little bit more engaged at the home as well. And once, of course, that we are able to come back into a hybrid model, these are the students that we'll be considering first for that in-person instruction.
Okay. I'm still waiting for questions to pop up here. Somebody wants to elaborate on anything while we're waiting for additional questions for us to answer? Seems like something's happening. We're a little slow this evening. I know that if we don't get to all your questions, we will post them in the FAQs.
I think one of the
here's
questions.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the questions that we had on the previous two nights that we have not mentioned tonight is what are we going to do with the supplies and materials from students that they left in their lockers or desks from from last year to this year?
And?
And I think what we're doing across the district at different schools is having grab and goes. You need to go ahead and schedule that through your site principal and make sure that you list their name, their student IDs, making sure that you note what they may have left in their lockers or desks, but it's going to be a grab and go type setting.
And principals will be announcing to their communities. So I would actually, I'm going to counter and say principals will be announcing that that has been a charge we gave to them, correct? Looking at those of you that supervise principals. Again, people want to know, what can they expect a typical day to look like during remote time-wise and schedule for students?
I'll go ahead and take that one. The day's going to be very similar across the board. Now, what's going to be different is the start time at the schools. We may have some schools that start at 8, some at 8:50, some at 9 o'clock. The typical day is going to be for a student to log into each one of their classes. I think that's the most important point to make, is logging in to their class on their scheduled time, and each school will send out what their schedule looks like, and making sure that they log in to receive that direct instruction. And again, it's going to be very flexible within those periods of time, but it's very important to get that schedule of time that your students should be in class.
When will students, of course, be allowed to get their items that they're in their lockers? You'll be hearing from your principals. They'll have to schedule the time. We have to follow the governor's health orders, but yes, you will be allowed to go back and get your items. Will Santa Fe High share their teaching plan, for example, class 1 from 2 to 4?
Yes, they will. They'll be sending that out shortly. We're making sure it fits all their master schedule, making sure that the teachers are listed accordingly, but we will definitely get that out to you.
The sooner you contact your school and let them know you want hybrid or you want remote with your student's name, date of birth, ID number, or lunch number, right? It's the same one. And I want remote, I want hybrid for the full 2021 school year. And your contact info, the sooner you will know what your schedule looks like. So please get that done as soon as possible. Should we expect a call or email for parent training for students with IEPs?
So yes, we will definitely be communicating once all of our training modules are complete. Mr. Jeff Abbott, our parent coordinator, he will do all the outreach, and you may hear from Ms. Tilton, Jocelyn Tilton, or any of my program support specialists. They will reach out and kind of guide you as to where they're at and how you can access them.
Terrific. Can Santa Fe High School ROTC be allowed to practice drill and air rifle once we are in the hybrid model?
So Rotc happens to be an activity that is under the umbrella of the NMAA. So once the NMAA allows that type of practice to take place, we'll definitely allow it with the safety protocols.
If families want their children to stay remote all year, will they be allowed to do so? Yes, 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 yes. So please, if you did not fill out that enrollment form, either you somehow ignored it, you lost it, you didn't get it, it doesn't matter. Email or contact your school now, and again, let them know what you would like for the entire school year. Remember that on August 20th, everyone will start on remote. We'll all stay in remote for the first 9 weeks. Thereafter, we need to know where you want to be, and we need to know now so that you don't have to change teachers. So please contact your school, either call the school or email the school as soon as possible, like do it tonight. What will happen when a student or staff member tests positive for COVID-19? We have to report within 4 hours to the Department of Health. Contact tracing is done immediately. Actually, the room or the area where the individual was has to be shut down 24 hours before we can clean it, and then an additional 24 hours after that. People will be notified if they have to quarantine or have another test. We follow all Department of Health protocols and regulations. They do change the guidance quite frequently, but we know exactly what to do, and we will be in communication with you. You can trust us on this. We have that protocol down pat. Where is the school? I assume Desert Academy. Desert Academy will be at the old Capshaw site when people come back to remote. Right now, Desert Academy will be online. Will there be assessments done to see the impact on special education students of how the student is doing now and assess if they may have I'm going to correct it here, backslid in their development. If our students require an educational assistant, how will that work remotely? Ms. Lucero.
So we are hoping to get all of some assessments taken care of within the first couple of weeks, but definitely progress monitoring is very critical for us. We do understand that our learning environment was different in the spring, so it is a priority to determine what type of plan we need for each student moving forward, or what services we may need to add, or how much time. Of course, we would determine if any compensatory time may be owed at that time. So all of that can be discussed in an IEP.
So it always goes back to the IEP, doesn't it, Ms. Lucero?
Yes.
The IEP directs everything. What happens? Okay, let's see, here's a new one. Okay, it actually starts with okay. Okay, so what about if I don't decide or know how I'm going to make my kids return to school, if remotely or hybrid model? I don't know what to tell you other than you need to, as a family, make a decision, and you need to make it soon, because it is critical for us to plan for your child. Can you change your mind? Of course you can, but we would hope you don't. I mean, it's not cast in concrete, but it's better that we have a plan that we move through all the way through. So, as soon as possible, please make that decision, because we can't really plan for your child. And it's a huge staffing issue. It's a gigantic puzzle that we're trying to work out in the district to meet the needs of all our families. So please work with us and help us by making a choice. What happens if we were to choose remote learning, since we are currently teleworking for the foreseeable future and are sent back to the office prior to the end of the school year? And I would imagine at that time you could choose hybrid, or you could choose hybrid right now. If families choose the remote only option, does that mean their teacher will have a different teacher, or different teachers when we go to hybrid? That's why we want you to make a decision now, so you don't have to change. If you choose hybrid now, while we're in the remote program, you will stay with the same teacher or teachers and not have to make a switch. If you pick remote, you'll stay with the same teachers. That's why we want to do this early. If a student does not perform well during remote learning, will they receive a failing grade? We do have to give grades, but we highly recommend that if you feel like your child is having difficulty, communicate with your teacher, communicate with the counselor, communicate with the principal, the assistant principal. I am convinced they will help you. If there are issues, all these people here supervise those schools, and they can help you. Each and every single one of them, can support you. We're here to help you. We want all of our children to be successful. So you're not alone in that battle. Let's see here. Should I wait to call my kid's school? Please don't wait. Email, if you did not fill out that email where you picked your enrollment form, if you did not fill it out, please email or call your school immediately. You could even call and leave a message tonight, or you could send an email. Probably email is best. If you're able to email the school, I would do that as soon as possible, because we have 800 students that we have to try to reach their families that we did not hear from. So please help us and notify the school as soon as possible. When will I receive my child's class schedule? I registered her in April for junior high, and I've not heard anything from her school. I'm getting really worried. We are too. So that's why we need you to fill out those forms. Well, actually, at this point, if you filled out the form, you're done. You took care of it. But if you did not fill out that form, please email or call your school. I'm not sure if you addressed it, but how will classrooms look with social distancing? How many students would be in one classroom? Ms. Wagner, you want to talk to people about that?
Dr. Garcia, we'll be doing a safety town hall in the near future to talk in depth about what school will look like in an in-person or hybrid setting. But we are working to route traffic patterns and install safety mechanisms, plexiglass.
Traffic patterns, you're talking about students in the classroom. What they really want to know is how many students in a classroom. Can you talk to that?
Well, in a hybrid model, we'd be working at 50% capacity. That would be our goal. So we will calculate those capacities by classroom, by school, work very closely with school principals to determine how we have to spread students out throughout the facility and maintain social distancing standards.
Which is 6 feet of distance. You've already gone in and marked those spaces in classrooms. And when she talks about traffic patterns in the hallway, how kids will go to recess, and as she said, we're going to have a more in-depth model, but it will be social distance, okay? In a hybrid model, will a child have the same teacher during the days online and in person? Yes, you will have the same teachers when you're in a hybrid model, whether you're on the A schedule or the B schedule. Ms. Sink, you want to talk about it real quick?
Yes, I think you answered it. If you have Mrs. Garcia, then you'll see her on Mondays, and you won't see her on Tuesdays. I'm sorry, you'll see her again on Tuesday. You won't see her on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, but you will have a lot of work to do and be in touch.
Oh, you will see her online.
You'll see her online, but online on Wednesdays for sure, but they'll be with the B group on Thursdays and Fridays in a hybrid model.
Right. So again, just to be real clear, kids will be in 2 groups, an A group and a B group. So
Correct.
if Larry Chavez and Susan O'Brien and Christy Wagner were in the A group, they will go to school Monday and Tuesday with that teacher, and they will be online on Wednesday. This group over here, Debbie and Ms. Sink, will be in the B group. They'll be online with that teacher on Mondays and Tuesdays. Everybody will be online on Wednesdays, and then they just switch, okay?
Yes.
So they'll see their teacher every day. It's just that only 2 days will be in person, correct?
Yes, they'll be face-to-face 2 days. They'll be not virtual on the other 2 days. In other words, they won't be able to see their teacher. They'll be online.
Correct. They'll see their teacher every day, either in person or virtually. 2 days in person, 3 days virtually, regardless of what group you're in.
Okay.
Yes. All righty. It's a long night. This is our 3rd town hall. Do you know how music courses work? For example, band, chorus, and other classes?
So the same thing as in all the classes is your music teacher, your band teacher, they even designed lessons for their kids this summer. They'll be working with their students. The students will have their instruments. We'll be sure to get their instruments out to them in that same type of grab and go idea if they didn't get them this past spring. So it won't be any different. They will still have their music. There's what we call specials, PE, etc.
Thank you. How will grading be because my son has ADHD, first of all? Go ahead, Ms. Lucero.
Sorry. So not all students with ADHD have an IEP, but if they potentially could have a 504, there could be accommodations. But typically, I think if the student did have an IEP, there may be some accommodations or modifications in their IEP for grading and how that might look. So I think it's dependent on the student's needs.
If you have ADHD and you don't have an IEP, or the student has ADHD and doesn't have an IEP, please contact your counselor, and they can work with Ms. O'Brien and guide them through developing an accommodation plan. How does AP tests work? My mom enrolled me in 5 AP classes, and I didn't hear anything about how to take the AP test, Mr. Chavez.
Yes, so what we'll do is make sure that you also, as a student, have that information on how to take that AP exam. Last year, it was all online. This year, depending on what type of model we're in or what the state in and how the AP exam is going to be rolled out, it could be in person again on site, or it could be online, but we'll make sure all AP students and teachers have that information and get that out to you.
If you have a question about AP you did not hear, please contact your counselor, and they can work with district staff and we'll support you. High school sports schedules. Are middle school sports seasons at the same time as high schools?
Yes, so the middle school sports seasons actually follow the high school sports seasons. And again, it did change. So in the fall, there will be no middle school football. That has been moved to the second semester and starts in February. We'll definitely get that out on social media and make sure all of our middle schools have that information so they can get it out to families and students.
I filled out the survey the same day it was sent. I'm assuming you're talking about the enrollment form. I have not gotten a call or anything in the mail regarding my daughter's school schedule. What should I do? If you're not contacted, that's a good thing. They'll be contacting you if you did not submit it. As soon as they can contact, X amount of parents, we will have a deadline probably before the end of the week to start notifying families of what program they're in and what their schedule will look like. At least that's our aspirational goal. It might be early the following week, but if you filled it out, you can just know that we received it. So when we go to the hybrid model, teachers will be teaching kids in person and online at the same time. Yes. And the curriculum and instruction department has worked out a really good schedule so that the teachers can do this in an efficient way that will not drive them crazy. They're going to get a lot of professional development. I can tell you that this is a national model, but I can also tell you that a lot of teachers are not getting the amount of training that our teachers have gotten because they've spent a lot of time working on this hybrid model. And teachers will get, I think, about 5 days of professional development to be able to do this. How can I go about changing my students' life skills teacher from the one who is assigned?
So not every school has a life skills classroom. They're spread throughout the district, so that could be a factor. But I think all of those conversations should take place in an IEP. So I would suggest when my staff reaches out to set that up, that can be a conversation that we have there.
Will students and staff be tested for COVID-19 once we go back to the school in the hybrid model? No, we are following all Department of Health requirements and guidelines. And with other states seeing an influx with virus, will early return to schools. What is Santa Fe Public Schools considering? This is not a school by school district decision. Those health guidelines and gating criteria are set by the state, and those are monitored very closely. Many states also that are returning and are seeing high numbers also do not follow a lot of the protocols that we have in place in the Santa Fe Public Schools. If you've been watching the news, you see kids walking through the halls with no masks on, or they have not closed down as much as the state of New Mexico has, and their infection rates are much higher. So, but we do follow all of the Department of Health guidelines. Right now, we are not even have the capacity, nor are we required to have everyone tested. How will teachers handle kids that might cause disruptions due to personal issues, IEP issues? Ms. Lucero.
Dr. Garcia, and I'm assuming this is back when we're in the hybrid model, but I can speak to that remotely. We are going to provide some strategies for parents for those students that do struggle with behavior. We'll send some positive behavior supports and strategies. Now, when we come back to a hybrid model, of course, we've modified our behavior point system to kind of focus on the current situation that we're in. So we're preparing for that already, and hopefully, we will have less students in the classroom. So hopefully it will just all work out, but we continue to think about those things moving forward.
If the students have to return to school, will the schools enforce the students to wear masks? Absolutely. We are providing, several, I think 5 reusable masks to every student and staff. We will also have disposable masks available when they forget their mask. We really hope that parents will send them to school with their masks. Do not send them to school if they are sick. Please don't do that. And we also, it will be in our code of conduct. It will be a disciplinary infraction if they do not wear their mask. The only time they are allowed not to wear their mask is while they're eating or drinking. And we want to make sure that when kids eat or drink, hopefully that they're, while drinking, it may happen in the classroom, but eating, we hope we can have as much of that as possible outdoors when we can, weather permitting, but masks must be used at all times. And the hybrid model, what kind of punishment will students get if they don't use their masks and maintain social distancing? I think we really want to work with our students and our families, right? But if someone continues to not follow the rules, we'll recommend that they go to remote learning if they are unable to follow the requirements, because the safety of our students is number one. Will you guys consider canceling in-person PE classes due to kids not practicing proper hygiene? You want to talk about PE and athletics and the gyms and what's required around PE classes?
Absolutely. So to first address that question about PE, New Mexico Public Education Department has sent out guidance about how to conduct a proper PE class to include proper hygiene. Some of the locker rooms will not be permitted at this point whenever the hybrid model is what we transition to. Water fountains will not be used. We'll be encouraging students to come in clothes that they can practice or participate in PE with. And as far as athletics goes, there are a string of items that teams need to have in place in order to even have practice. One of them is pods of no more than 5 to 1 coach. Also taking temperatures before and after, and practicing social distancing. Within these pods, you still have to stay 6 feet apart.
Very good. How will AP Bio be with the lab online? Because I'm going to be taking that with AP Calculus and AP English and AP History and AP Spanish and AP Computer Science. Ms. Zink?
I'm sure the teachers are already trying to figure that out. Some of them are thinking about doing their labs in their own classrooms. And then they'll also be using virtual labs on online learning. There's lots of great virtual labs now. So we will also help them get materials for that kind of lab. But again, some may just go in to do those laboratories.
This will be our last question for tonight. We are at 7:45. I'll do these last 2 questions and then that's it. Why don't you guys consider entering school after December? Right now, our plan was already submitted to the PED. It could be after December. It just depends on the gating criteria and how the virus and the pandemic behave in Santa Fe County. Will we be notified if someone is tested positive in the school or quarantine? Yes, we have made every positive case public information. We feel we owe that to the community. And yes, but we do not identify the identity of the person that has tested positive. It will be either an employee or a student. But other than that, there will not be any other identifying information. If a student has a breathing issue, can they take off the mask to breathe properly? You would have to get a doctor's a doctor's order or documentation that this was the case. I'm not certain. We'll have to get guidance from the Public Education Department and Department of Health if that student would be required to be taught remotely. But I'm not 100%. Ms. O'Brien, do you know the answer to that?
The guidance that I've seen on that is to use every reasonable precaution around that. So students who might be medically fragile, that might have breathing issues, we just want to take each one of those cases, case by case. That's what
they
we
should
know.
contact the school nurse so that, or if we're planning in advance, they could contact your office, Ms. O'Brien, the Office of Student Wellness.
Absolutely.
And they could contact you where?
You can contact Anita Het is what I would recommend, our lead nurse, and her number is 505-204-1975. All of her desk calls go directly to her cell phone.
Terrific. So thank you all for joining us this evening. This will be archived, so you can go back and watch. questions. Looks like we got to all the questions, but they will be posted in the FAQs. There will be town halls next week, all conducted in Spanish, and more of these types of meetings to keep you informed. Again, if you did not submit your enrollment form, please email or contact your school as soon as possible. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited about the new reimagined, rebooted, remote learning program. We're excited for the 2021 school year, and thank you for joining us tonight. Good night.